Dust curled in the heat, a restless wind dragging grit across the depot boards. The bench groaned under her stillness. 3 days she sat, bonnet shadowing her face, black skirts pooling like spilled ink. The station clock told noon, each clang like the strike of judgment, and still she did not move. Train wheels screamed as another iron beast thundered past, scattering doves and shaking loose sand from the rafters. Men in hats tugged at their collars, women clutched parasols, but their eyes, always, found her. They whispered behind gloved hands, voices low as rattlesnakes in dry grass. Her fingers tightened around a leather satchel resting in her lap. The faint squeak of the hinge betrayed her grip. Boots clattered on the platform, spurs jangling, deals struck in hushed tones as ranchers loaded crates. Still she waited, unmoved as though carved from stone. The depot master spat into the dust and shook his head each morning she returned. "Fools waiting for something that won't come," he muttered. Yet there she was, sunrise to sundown, eyes fixed on the horizon where the track vanished into shimmering waves of desert. Creak. The bench shifted. A stray tumbleweed rolled across the platform, caught beneath a wagon wheel. The sun baked the air until it wavered like water on hot stone. Horses stamped and snorted, tails swishing at flies. Somewhere down the road, a dog barked at nothing. Whispers carried like dry leaves. Widow, runaway, cursed. Some claimed she'd lost her man to war. Others swore she'd put him in the ground herself. No one dared ask, not with the way her silence pressed heavy on the lungs of any who drew near. By the third day, the air itself seemed to lean toward her, waiting. The clock struck again, its clang slicing the hush. That was when he appeared. Small boots, too big for the legs that carried them, scuffed across the platform. Spurs rattled loose at his ankles, each step ringing sharp in the stillness. He stopped in front of her, squinting up through a tangle of sun-bleached hair. Dust clung to his cheeks, but his eyes, clear, steady, held no shame. The town slowed. A gambler paused mid-card. A woman froze with her parasol lifted, all ears bent toward the boy in boots. He studied her face hidden beneath the brim. Then, with a voice plain as the desert sky, he spoke. "Will you marry my daddy instead?" The words struck like thunder rolling through a canyon. The depot fell silent, even the horses holding breath. The woman's fingers eased from the satchel, and for the first time in 3 days, she raised her head. Her gaze found his, steady as stone meeting water, and the wind, carrying grit and rumor alike, seemed to hush as though waiting on her answer. The boy's spurs jingled again as he shifted, waiting for her reply. Heat pressed down hard, the kind that made skin sting and air shimmer. She did not speak, only studied the dust clinging to his boots, the cracks in the leather too wide for a child's years. He didn't fidget. His eyes, sharp as chipped glass, held her steady. "My daddy don't come here," he said. The words were simple, but carried weight enough to still the chatter of the depot. "He don't wait on trains. Don't need to." The gambler at the bench coughed into his hand. The depot master pretended to count tickets, though his ear tilted closer. Everyone knew the boy's father. Everyone knew the name that rolled through saloons like thunder on dry plains. The child's voice carried on. "Mama's gone. House is quiet. Cows still bawl. They don't talk much. Don't laugh none either." A pause, breath catching as though the next words were heavier than his lungs. "He needs somebody." The woman's gloved hand brushed against the satchel in her lap. The faint scrape of leather against fabric broke the silence. Her head tilted, not quite a nod, not yet refusal. Boots stomped behind them. A rancher hauling a crate muttered, "Best she walk away," under his breath. The words sank into the hot air like stones in water, but the boy did not hear or did not care. He took a step closer, spurs clinking against the wood. "You waitin' here 3 days. Ain't no one comin' for you. Might as well come for us." The crowd stirred at that. Shoulders turned. Whispers rippled. Her waiting had been the town's story for 3 days running, and now the tale bent in a new direction. She lifted her gaze at last. Under the brim of her bonnet, her eyes glinted like steel cooled in shadow. No answer passed her lips, but something in her stillness carried weight enough to still even the horses tethered near the track. From the saloon porch, a drunk laughed once, sharp and cruel. She don't know what kind of devil's door that boy's lead in her to. His bottle swung loose in his hand, spilling whiskey down the steps. The boy ignored him. He only held out a hand, small fingers dark with dust, palm steady. The station clock struck again. Its echo rolled across the platform, settling heavy as thunder waiting to break. She rose. Black skirts whispered against the planks, bonnet shadow deepening over her face. Her satchel swung against her side as she set her hand into the boy's. The murmurs chased them down the platform. Widow, fool, brave, doomed. Words slithered after their steps, but none dared call them back. The boy's spurs jingled with each stride, sharp notes against the low hum of dread. And the woman, silent, walked beside him toward a road the town swore no good soul should take. The ranch rose out of the dust like a scar across the land. Fences broken, boards gray with age, cattle lowing under the red shadow of the mountains. The boy's hand slipped from hers as he ran ahead, boots thudding over the hard earth. A figure stood in the doorway of the house, tall, shoulders broad as canyon walls. He did not move as they drew closer, only leaned against the frame, arms crossed, the sun carving his face into stone. The woman's steps slowed. The boy called, "Daddy." No answer came, only the low groan of the wind pushing through dry grass. Closer now, she saw the scars along his jaw, the deep lines carved by years of sun and silence. His eyes caught hers, cold, unreadable, gunmetal dulled but not worn. Inside, the house smelled of smoke and sweat. The floorboards creaked under her boots. A single chair sat by the hearth, rifle propped within easy reach. The boy curled onto a blanket near the fire, the day's dust still clinging to his boots, and sleep took him quick. The woman remained standing. The man took his seat, pipe clenched between his teeth, though no flame lit it. He did not speak. Neither did she. The silence between them stretched long, filled only by the soft crack of settling wood and the faint howl of coyotes outside. Her satchel rested by her feet. One gloved hand brushed its leather edge, and his eyes flicked toward it, sharp as a blade catching light. For a breath, the air grew tight, as though words unsaid pressed against the walls themselves. Night thickened. The coyotes gave way to wolves, their cries sharper, closer. The boy stirred, whimpering once before sinking deeper into dreams. The woman broke the silence first, her voice low, steady. "Fence won't hold." His jaw flexed. He spat into the ashes and finally spoke. "Fence ain't what they're after." The words fell like stones in still water. She did not ask more. At dawn, the first sign came. A calf found gutted beyond the creek, hide carved with a mark not of branding, but warning. By noon, another, this time a message cut in the barn door, knife strokes raw and crooked. Leave or burn. The man stood long before the scarred wood, saying nothing. The woman at his side felt the weight of the silence, heavier than fear. That night, lantern light trembled in the wind. From the ridge beyond the fence, flames flared, torches swaying in the fists of riders. Horses stamped, snorted, shadows shifting against canyon walls. The boy woke, eyes wide, clutching at his blanket. From the darkness, the sound rose, hoots, laughter, jeers rolling down the slope like thunder before storm. The ground itself seemed to hum beneath the weight of hooves. The woman's hand slid to the satchel. The man lifted his rifle, and outside, the ranch shivered beneath the gathering fire. Torches swayed in the dark, firelight slashing across snarling faces. The riders circled the ranch like wolves, hooves pounding earth until the windows rattled. A voice boomed from the ridge. "Come out, rancher. Ain't no fence, nor a rifle keeping you from what's owed." The boy whimpered against the blanket. The man chambered around with a slow, deliberate click. But before he could step to the door, the woman was already on her feet. She lifted the satchel. The clasp snapped open, clean, sharp. Out came the pistol, steel-polished, grip worn smooth by long use. Her fingers closed around it steady, like it had never left her hand. The man's eyes narrowed. Recognition flickered there, but no words passed between them. She pushed the door wide. Night air rushed in, carrying smoke, sweat, the acrid sting of burning pitch. Her black skirts dragged across the dirt as she stepped into the yard. The riders jeered, laughter cutting across the dark. "Send out a woman? That your shield, rancher?" Torches rose high, fire spitting sparks into the wind. She raised the pistol. Not a tremor marked her arm. The hammer cocked with a sound sharp as bone-breaking. The first shot cracked, lightning split from powder and flame. One rider toppled backward, torch tumbling, horse screaming into the night. Silence struck, brief, stunned. Then chaos tore loose. Guns roared, hooves thundered, firelight spun wild. The ranch yard became storm and thunder, smoke choking the air. She moved like water through stone. Each shot rang true. Torches dropped, men fell, horses scattered. The pistol barked, empty, then reloaded quick, hands swift and certain. Her eyes burned with a cold fire, not rage, not fear, something older honed. The man fought beside her, rifle booming, shoulders braced against the storm. But it was her, always her, who cut the heart from the charge. The leader rode last, black coat flaring, eyes mean as a rattler's. He drove straight at her, gun raised, mouth twisted in a snarl. She stepped into his path, pistol leveled. Torchlight carved her face bare at last. Recognition flashed across a snarl. Fear, sharp and sudden. "You," he hissed, as though naming a ghost. The pistol spoke once more. His body pitched from the saddle, thudding into the dirt, torch rolling to die in dust. The others broke. Horses tore away into the dark, shouts fading into canyon hollows. The ranch fell quiet but for the hiss of dying flames. Smoke drifted. Spent shells glittered faint in the torchlight. The woman lowered her pistol, chest rising steady, unbroken. The boy ran to her, arms clinging around her waist. "Told you," he whispered against the black of her dress, voice trembling but certain. "You're the one." The man met her eyes across the yard, rifle slack in his grip. No smile, but the nod came, slow, deep, carrying weight heavier than words. And the desert, old and watchful, carried her story forward.